there. Rat Mom here. 6.5 straight minutes of technical difficulties later. I do apologize. Oh my goodness. But I got my big coffee today. I'm ready. How's everybody else's Wednesday going? It's been a trip around here so far today. Ooh. Here's to that. This week's video was, I want to say short and sweet, but it's not sweet. And I took a couple of swings, but I did pull a pitchfork swinging for the BDSM hardcore. I didn't just be like, is bad. I'm trying to raise questions, because I don't want to just join the argument. I think raising questions is, I hope that raising questions is going to be maybe a more effective way of approaching that particular topic. It's not my favorite thing, but that is beside the point, really. And I do my best to make that beside the point. The reason it's not my favorite thing is these questions that I have not seen resolved, to any sufficient, and I have not really, but I also haven't really articulated them particularly well, even for myself. It's just the kind of thing where I look at it and I go, ooh, yeah, no, that just looks like not a good idea at all. No. And then, there are these cases where women have died, right? So this is not all fun and games. And I don't have a lot of patience for anybody who tries to claim that it is. Sex is not a LARP. I said that in last week's video, I think. And I keep repeating that. I think it's funny because it's true. And I really, I must be getting old and crotchety because I just don't have any patience anymore who want to treat sex like some kind of LARP. Or, anything really. Which is the last video because Blue Cross called. Just little old me here right now. Yeah, it looks like I see there might be somebody else hanging out. Hi, whoever you are. What? Please, like I say, this one doesn't have a famous name attached to it, so I don't think it's gonna do as well as last week's video did, but it does follow on from that, obviously. And I would love your opinion. And any of my regulars who watch this, please leave me a comment. I would love to know what you guys thought of that. Like I say, I took a couple of swings in this one, but it is short and to the point. At the same time, I was watching Ricky's video, being like, all right, somebody else is taking on the Neil Gaiman thing. Fantastic. Like I say, I enjoyed her last video quite a bit. So, I wasn't really surprised with the, I've seen this before. We've all seen this before, right? Where one person is doing the bad thing, but they're doing it badly. So it's bad then. And so they become like the sacrificial cow. What up, Belle? How you doing? Did you see the video? Missed you last week. And I don't think I got around to replying to your comment. I'm sorry about that. How you been? Settling in okay, I hope. Has the job hunt been fruitful? I gotta find something to do besides babble at you guys so you have time to respond to this that I say. What did you think? I think it's obvious where my biases lie, which is part of the reason I'm looking for feedback. Got a job literally yesterday. Congratulations. Was that in like the ta-da time? So what are you going to be doing? You're going to be baristaing or something? I was thinking when you were asking the rhetorical questions about BDSM, but they do have answers for that. Okay. What are they? Because I've never, you know, obviously that is me just honestly asking questions. I don't know how to do good research on that topic. Really. I don't even begin to know how to, or at least for some of it. Yeah. Yeah. But that also that differential in physical strength is something that nobody likes to talk about these days. We're all supposed to be collectively ignoring that right now. Yeah, barista at a new restaurant. Ooh. Are you like part of the first crew? No, and just I saw that girl saying that stuff about death of the author, and it occurred to me that it functions as a pretty good metaphor for some things that feminism needs to talk about and doesn't really seem to know how. I don't know directly because Julie into BDSM and she's told me about it. Like, okay, if you don't mind repeating some of the stuff, like anything relevant that struck you with my video, I'm open to learning about things. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to, start dabbling in them myself. Kind of like I read about all sorts of stuff. I know about all sorts of stuff like that, actually. Like, I know way too much about serial killers, for example, and I don't plan on becoming one of those. No danger there. So, I guess comparison, but quoted a line of poetry attributed to the Norse god Odin in my interview, so now I can say heathen deities got me my job. That's awesome. I thought I'd have to unpack, as they say, regarding having been into BDSM, but since I've decided I'm to be done with men, so to heck with figuring it out. Isn't it? It is. And as somebody who's married with kids, I don't know. I feel like there's two basic camps, and it's like she was saying, for a lot of women, engaging with men is just a really difficult thing to do at all. There are a lot of women who feel that way, especially a lot of radical feminists who feel that way. So they kind of do as you do, where they're just like, well, you know what? I don't even need to worry about figuring that out. But somebody should, right? I'm down in the trenches, so I'm kind of forced to try, So here we are. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And your input is always welcome, of course, to bring viewpoints. Are the bread and butter of analysis. How the fuck you do that without some sort of like group input, really? In a way, that's sort of how YouTube functions, right? Especially now that Twitter is just absolutely. Oh my goodness. I hear bizarre things from over there. But we've all got so used to having this like public forum, where you can just sort of jump into the fray at any given moment. And that is what social media should be. Dare I say, right? No, and so the other camp would be, the women who just kind of deal with men and either do not worry about it or it does not bother them somehow. So, and there's a lot of us who just don't feel comfortable with doing this kind of analysis because it is very personal and it is very in our face, right? But somebody should. I was just telling somebody this morning how that's why I started the blog 10 years ago in the first place, was because I realized there just wasn't a whole lot out there in the wider culture that I related to very strongly. As a 30-something mom with other interests, obviously, but that was mostly what I had going on at the moment. And it was a whole lot of mommy blogs, which, no. Needless to say, that aesthetic has never been my cup of tea. I neither enjoy nor can perform it. Right. So I don't quite I don't quite get all that. And then a lot of them have turned out to be pretty nasty people, so don't regret not trying to jump on that bandwagon. Because it's not about, I don't want, and I've just said this before, I'm not here to do mom stuff on the internet. I'm here to speak from the mom's perspective, the one that gets left in the background of so many stories. Because I'm reasonably, intelligent and attractive and articulate. I'm not, a 10 in any of those categories. But I got enough going on that I can put myself out there, That was my thinking. Oh yeah, and a bunch of theater experience, which and video and audio editing training. So it's a stew that just all kind of leads me in this direction. Despite the fact that I, when it's time to not be on camera, I'm like, see ya, and I'm done, right? I don't. Oh my gosh, my phone is ringing. Who in the heck is... My husband is calling me? Why is he calling me? He knows I'm on camera right now. Oh. Hello? I am on camera right now. What's going on with you? Yeah, I love you too. The church thing went great this morning. It was a lot of fun, and then I came home at 10:30. Yeah. It's okay. I love you. Call me later, okay? All right, bye. Oh! The burdens I deal with, right? The worst part is my other earphone was stuck in my shirt, so I can only mostly hear him. Never a dull moment around here. Never a dull moment. So, excuse me. That was honestly the reason I thought about videos in the first place, was because sometimes this place feels like living in a fucking sitcom. Occasionally to such a wild degree that I can almost hear the studio audience somewhere in the distance, right? Okay, it's a dull moment. Never. Yeah, never. Hey, kitty cat, how you doing, girl? Ooh. And I know you're not, I know Critical Kitty is somebody else who I was talking to about the BDSM, but did you see the video? You're highly opinionated, and I bet you have thoughts. It is a subject I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I haven't seen her for a while. I emailed her a while back, and I don't think I ever heard back from her. But, no shade. It is what it is. It's his life. Just woke up. Sorry. No worries. It's a short one. It's only 9 minutes long. You go catch it if you want. I'd love some feedback, because I took a swing in this one. So, would love to hear what you think. I'm just glad to see you guys. Last week it was awful quiet around here. And, getting to hang with you guys on the regs is really what makes this fun. And we bounce ideas around and get to know each other a little bit and develop ideas. And, I'm very happy I started doing these on a regular basis too. That was probably the best decision I ever made for the channel. Wow, Okay, watch it at the same time. Right on. Right on. Sorry. Rebecca Watson has a video up talking about vaccines again. She's pro-vaccine, and so am I, for the record. Uh, she's so annoying though, and so off about so many things. Oh my god! I swear to God, her brand is being like that annoying feminist chick, you know, complete with the funky glasses and the crazy colored hair. It's. Did you see my interview? I thought we talked about that last week. Was there something I missed? If somebody didn't tag me in something, girl, I'm not necessarily searching. Did I miss an email? I'm sorry. What up, Joe? Hi all, I'm listening. Getting ready for a doctor's appointment, so I probably won't be chatting much. Oh, right on. Oh, asking Bell. Right. I see now. Sorry. Ooh. It's been a hectic day around here. As I mentioned on Nas on the phone a minute ago, I was at church this morning. I didn't miss another one. Okay, cool. That would be a lot, you know. Amanda is a lot. But anyway, no, I was at church this morning flipping bags and filling spice bags for the barbecue, the semi-annual barbecue that they do for a fundraiser over there. Because it's Tennessee, so the Episcopal Church has a barbecue every spring and fall. Why not? You did good. Yes, she did. Very articulate, and you knew what you know. You obviously knew your stuff, and like, of course, the first thing they did when she left was make fun of her, which is why I'm not going to be going over there and doing that, because it doesn't sound like any fun. I don't know. I'm glad you had a good time. It sounded like you had a good time. I just don't care to put myself in that position. I don't need that shit. Most of the time listening to Kitty was like bass. You're right. And she clearly knew her stuff. And, well, I don't really want to go into it. I said what I thought last week in the live stream. But you did very well. And last week's video, my video did very well. So thank you guys for watching. And I guess the algorithm just chose to share. I mean, it with a lot more people because it had, you know, Neil Gaiman's name on it. But like, if you guys could maybe share my videos a little bit, that would be extremely helpful. If you ever, or anybody you think would enjoy them, that would be the bee's knees. Wait, are you wearing a kitty shirt in your patriarchy video? No, that's yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for noticing. I love that shirt. I feel like I should be quiet and let you watch it. It's not that long. It's a gorgeous day. Ooh. In case anybody is wondering, yeah, we did have a storm blow through here. It rained for 3 or 4 days straight. A lot of wind. I had to take the top down and ball it up, which I don't know if you can tell. It's lower now, because I'm hoping it will catch less wind that way, just in general. I'm gonna be quiet till you're done, BRB. Okay, cool. And autumn around here is always really long and warm, so we're gonna get to stay out here for a while yet. Although, happy October, everybody. I got a birthday coming up. So, that's exciting. We're going to do... Oh my god, he said he wants to go hiking with me for my birthday. Which would be just great. That would be so much fun. I'm not... Okay. I love nature. But I also love my bed. Right? I'm... not like hardcore hiking girly that I want to go like out. The bird song is a nice addition also, to be honest. Yeah, right? Isn't it nice out here? Why would we want to be indoors right now? I can't fathom. It looks like maybe my camera's dirty though. And you know, the guys across the street have mercifully taken a break from trying to fix or soup up whatever engine it is that they've been yesterday. So if y'all could have seen, like, I would be talking and they would rev it over there and I would just wait because I knew it wasn't going to start. And I would just wait. And then I would talk some more. Yo, happy birthday in advance. Thank you. Thank you. It's a Friday, so it's not even going to interfere with any of this year. It's perfect. We'll probably go out on a Saturday anyway. So you know how that stuff is. I was just glad to be able to like keep it from getting blown away. I was so happy. I did it right this time, you know. It's Velcroed up there like it's supposed to be, so I can just take it off. So it wasn't like a giant fucking sail in a literal hurricane. It was a tropical storm, y'all. It wasn't actually a hurricane. It was... We did not see that much damage here. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else. And I gather it was much worse for other people, but we really didn't see. We had a fallen tree limb on the block behind us, and our power was out for about 10 hours. But other than that, no, we did all right. We had a couple people reach out to me. No, we did fine. We're fine. Kitty, was this interview on your channel, or does anyone have a link? Oh. It was on Amanda's channel, the G.M. I believe is the name of her channel. She didn't link me in it either, so... Or tag me, whatever it is. I had to go looking for it, which is one of the reasons I was late, but... No, I don't have a link. I wish it wouldn't be hard to find. Like, her channel's not hard to find. I just think General Motors. Or Game Master, you know, like... I'm sorry. I've started... Oh my goodness. One of the things I've enjoyed so much this week, you guys, is listening to professionally like writers and English majors and shit reviewing books. Like, it's been so educational. I've learned at least as much from that as I have from any writing advice I've ever taken. You know, what do readers actually enjoy and not, and why? You know, and what do they want to see? You know. It's not terrifically going to inform the plot of my book, you know. Like my friend Jay asked me the other day if I did storyboarding, and I just no. Oh, I don't have it with me, but like sometimes the writing advice is I'm just like, really? You make money from this? You know, they suggested to like have a a list of scenes and like a little section, like synopsis for each scene, and it's just like, well, yeah. How the hell does anybody keep track of stuff? I don't. I have whole separate notebooks dedicated to stuff like that. Obviously. I do it on paper. I gather a lot of people do it on the computer. Which, like, by the way, I lost an entire scene. Last week. For whatever reason. I don't know. It says that file either no longer exists, either is not available or just no longer exists, and I should contact the owner and, like, so, yeah. I'm pretty sure that file no longer exists. Which is fine. What it is was I had snipped it out. It was in the wrong place. So I had snipped it out and set it aside, essentially. And I was going to go and get it and slip it back in where it goes when I got there. And it is gone. So that's lots of fun. It's fine, though, because as I say, I do all of my composing, if you will, on paper. So all I have to do is go and get the notebook out. I know right where it is, because it's a big project. And I can pretty much recreate it. It'll probably be a little different than it was, but it was probably going to be a little different than it was anyway. But the bulk of it, I do still have. So it's not devastating, but it was a punch to the gut. I just, especially a big mystery, as I had just got done paying them another $70 to, like, up my storage for another year. So it shouldn't happen again, because I have the storage now. Oh, I have the storage. Sometimes you just run into someone who doesn't follow that basic advice and you realize why the advice is given. Yeah, I'm sure. And, like, my dad's been a fiction writer for a long, long time, and he and I used to talk about stuff like this when I was a kid. So to me, these things seem obvious, and I know that that's just because I have, like, vicarious experience that I've absorbed. But, like, on the other hand, apparently there are a couple of booktubers who make a lot of writing advice videos and whose books are not so great. I was talking about this last week. So I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now because it's just so much fun, and it is educational. And it's giving me sort of a feel of the lay of the land of the last few years, what the market has been looking like, and giving me a better idea of where I might stand in that. Sometimes, because I don't know which percentage of these are self-published versus professionally published, but, like, get this. This one caught my attention for obvious reasons, okay? It's a female protagonist set in Victorian England, right? Which is, like, reflective of my book. And there's, like, supernatural elements. There are ghosts. People can talk to ghosts. And some of the things these reviewers said were just devastating. Along the lines of, you didn't need the supernatural elements and could have made it in historical fiction with no real change to the plot. Yikes. Like, yikes. If the fantasy elements of your fantasy book don't actually affect the plot, that's bad. Right? That's bad. This female protagonist is actually a trans boy in Victorian England. And it's really funny to me. The bias screamed to me, and the people reviewing it did not point this out either. And it was funny. That was also fun because usually they're nitpicky. They're the kind of people who nitpick this kind of stuff, which is probably half of what made me think of it, which is like, okay, so you just happen to be, in reality, a male person in a female body. This is a fantasy novel. You can explain that. you can create an explanation, a mechanism for how the fuck that happened. Especially since the whole world's populated by people who communicate with the dead. Like, there are ghosts apparently everywhere. So, like, what up, kitty cat? What did you think? I'm ranting about this book I heard reviewed the other day that just amused the fuck out of me. And I mean, so on the bright side, a lot of the elements in my novel are going to be familiar to people. I'm not going to have to explain. I mean, I don't know. Like, they made Victorian England because of the ghosts. Somehow it is extra misogynistic for reasons. And they were literally complaining like there are no badass bitches in this story. I'm like, I'm sorry, wait a minute. No badass bitches in Victorian England? What happened to Victoria? Like, people just use this, it is a set dressing. The period is just a set dressing, and they don't actually walk through what the fuck it meant for the culture or anything like that. And of course there was a tight lacing scene, at least one. Oh yeah, and apparently it's like full. Okay, because our character is also autistic, of course. Which, how in the hell they know that as a 19th century person? How do you communicate that to the reader? Because the character can't tell them that, because the character cannot know that about themselves, right? And somebody else, this was a different reviewer actually, was saying that this character was essentially like a checklist for autism in character form, which is, again, sad. But, like, their special interest is surgery, all right? So there's a whole lot of body horror and, like, gore and stuff in this book, which is a YA book. And I'm just like, excuse you? That's one of the reasons that I am contending mine is not YA, is because there is some violence and some sex that happens in, like, the second part. Oi, where's my binder, governor? Please, sir, may I have some? Core blimey, I'm bloomin' lost my packer. Some Victorian trans... Right. Oh, and there's a trans woman, too. And, of course, they end up married because that's not mixed messaging at all, right? No. And, like, the male... There's the ones I like to watch. It's 2 women and 1 dude. And the man was saying, he goes, yeah, this book hates men. Which I think is strange. If your protagonist is one, technically, theoretically, that seems weird, right? But of course, the author is also an autistic trans man, so it's just self-insert anyway. And again, I don't think this was self-published. I didn't recognize the name of the publisher, but it did have one that wasn't Kindle, or Amazon or whatever. But so, I'm not going to say there were no Victorian women with masculine tendencies, but my goodness, I just don't, that's a leap. And again, we're just expected to accept that our protagonist is female on the outside and male on the inside with no explanation given. It is a fantasy book. You could use any explanation you want for that. And it could have been a fun allegory for something, probably. But, like, and this is what pissed me off, actually. And I almost rage quit the video about 2/3 of the way through because of this author. They raise all this stuff about misogyny, right? They raise all that stuff. And then they don't deal with it because our protagonist is actually a boy, though. It feels like such a fucking cop-out. Oh, there's so many T for T fiction pairs like that. No, I'm sure. This is a published novel, though. This isn't fan fiction on some forum somewhere or something. And, like I say, I don't get why the historical period, other than to just torment our characters with shit that's not around anymore. And sanatorium. Of course, there's the tight-laced corset stuff, and then she gets sent to a sanatorium, and it's like Dickensian set dressing. Oh, Red Mom later on hook up his problematic crush. Just the blurb alone had me in creases. Okay. leave that there. Or maybe it's their problematic crush. Yeah, right. Well, problematic crush is an interesting. I feel like that's the phrase that's going to get it. It was with Amanda. Her channel is GM, and the video title is "There Really a Difference Between Liberal Feminism and Radical Feminism?" Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. How well do you think that point actually got addressed? But so yeah, I mean, I just after listening to them describe and read some of the prose from this, describe the story and read some of the prose from this book, on the one hand, it's encouraging because I'm not making a lot of those mistakes, and I know that I'm not. And on the other hand, it's a little nerve-wracking because, if that's what sells, if that's what's, nice video, weird lady, just sad watching someone who calls themselves a bimbo. Right, yeah. I don't quite get that, but I wasn't there to hate her, just sort of using her as a vessel for the metaphor that I wanted to. What did you think of it, by the way? Wait, for real? They raised those threads and then just decided it doesn't matter because the protagonist is no longer affected? Which thing are we talking about? That's not super interesting, but which thing was it? Also, if they don't get addressed, they bring up the misogyny thread feels unnecessary. Right, it's just there to torment the characters. Unless it maybe spurs the trans character's growth or something. Oh, no. Oh, no. It solidifies his certainty that he is really a boy. And it's expressly said that he does not actually feel any disgust towards his female body. It's just that he knows that when other people perceive it, they're going to perceive him in a way that he does not agree with. Which, yeah, sounds like misogyny. But then that's still an unfortunately deficient writing choice. Yeah. And it's overplayed, too. Like, the misogyny is, like, it's not just, it's a sanatorium and finishing school. Where at one point, one of the poor detainees has, like, her entire face mangled, like, her teeth cut out, her pulled out, her tongue cut out, her eyes plucked out, like, as a form of punishment. These girls are supposed to be training to get married. Hit the nail on the head with us being complicit and aligning with BDSM. Thank you. I could not help it. I've seen that pattern so many times, right? And they're perfectly happy to question the person, usually a man. But the behavior, what's this book? The title's great, actually. The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. Right. Pretty good, right? Maybe it's a secret turf novel. I mean, it could have been if it had, wanted to actually materially deal with any of those topics or themes, and it did not. Everything that happened was very much in support of the idea, which again went unexplained, which I don't understand that. It is a fantasy novel, like I keep saying, and you can do literally whatever you want. Oh my god, and the cover has a blonde girl on it with long blonde hair. It looks like a picture from Alice in Wonderland, basically. And he spends the entire book talking to an imaginary rabbit. It's like the one thing that this author apparently actually knew about the late 19th century is that Alice in Wonderland then. Because that's true. That's true. And I just... Oh, and it reminds me of something somebody else said, how to kill your writing career in 4 steps or something like that. And step 1 was write an entire 100,000 page novel in 6 months while working a full-time job. And that's how some of them feel, That's how some of them feel. And some of them feel like a first draft to me. Some of them feel like my first draft in some ways. Not gonna lie. I am not above reproach, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing any rewrites. But like, that's why I've taken an extra year so far, at least, to do the world building and the character development and stuff. And it has given me some really, juicy cogs for this little machine that I'm building. It feels sort of like building a clock. So that if I can assemble this thing correctly, it will tick away and chime when I want it to. You know what I mean? It feels a lot like that. And in case you hadn't noticed, I'm having fun with it right now. I've got some momentum going and it's just on my mind. So unless y'all want to talk about something else, here we are. Oh gosh, but those first, it was 40 pages. It was 37 pages, and then it was 40 pages. And I don't know how many pages this first part is now. But I'm doing quite a bit of massaging, and I keep having to go back because I think it's something I want to add. Like right now, it's sensory details to a particular sequence. Just this little sweeteners like that. Like literally, it'll be a word per page sometimes. But it's the massaging it and the smoothing out, polishing it so that it shines right, Because I do not want the experience of reading my book to be a frustrating, example of, wait, why, what? Why in the fuck did they do, hold on a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Ooh. Actually, my nerdiest, you might appreciate this most of all, Bill. My nerdiest joyful discovery week is that, so it's approximately 1866 or 7, something like that. And I have a library in the house because of what I do. And there's a copy of the Encyclopedia Britannica in the library in the house. So, like, I don't have to explain how in the hell this basically autodidactic, this basically self-taught, like the lack of formal education is a thing, right? So, part of what she and the tutor are doing is working their way through the encyclopedia. So then later on, I don't have to explain how she knows basic shit, right? But the nerdiest, most happy thing for my little nerdy heart is that I found I can literally flip through the damn thing. Once I settled on which edition I wanted to use, I found I can literally flip through. Somebody's digitized the entire thing. I can flip through the actual books. Actual source material. How cool is that? So yeah, it's been a fun week for the writing. That's probably why this week's video was a little shorter, I guess. I didn't do that on purpose. It's not that I put less thought into it. I think I put, frankly, more substance into this one than a lot of them have. Books are being less edited by publishers now. Books are now a part of hyper-consumption culture right now. So let's just pick any random story you find that's already independently published. Don't edit. I was actually thinking about that. You can self-publish and then get a deal later, right? Like that is the thing that can happen. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not ready to really be thinking about that stuff yet. I'm focusing on, and I was saying this to Jay the other day, make a quality thing and then figure out how to market that thing, right? And I'm still in the first half of that right now. Or polish it up, just get it out there and move on to the next. That's terrible. That's cool. I love stuff. See, I know you do. It is so cool. It's so much fun. I actually get to flip through the source, the thing itself. So then I can be very specific in the dialogue and the descriptions, right? Because I have the actual source, the actual, not physically in my hands, but damn close. I can use page numbers. I can use, along the lines of what volume did we leave off at? Oh, and I can use the actual volume, right? Just little stuff like that is texture. For most people, it will just function as, texture. For anybody who is nerdy about the Encyclopedia Britannica, they might sit up and go, oh, that's this edition, da-da-da-da. So it's like a little Easter egg for nerds, I guess, but mainly it's going to function as texture. That's the kind of thing I feel like a lot of, I mean, it is a fantasy novel, so it's not really Victorian England, but, the texture was apparently just not there. I did not get the impression that any real, authentic. They kept comparing it to Jawbreaker. Shit, no. What's the really just florid movie about the girls in basically the insane asylum that's like a musical or something? I haven't seen it, but I've seen things about it because it's interesting. Sucker Punch. That's what it is. They kept comparing it to that, which is great and a thing and all, but not period accurate, right? It isn't trying to be. And, you're my library, whatever. I definitely read some good reviews of people who really loved that book. People who related very much to that character. And, of course, from my perspective, I'm kind of at that character just to begin with, just at the outset. So I don't plan on reading it, but it just caught my attention for a couple of reasons, right? And frankly, the body horror is what would keep me from reading it in the end, right? I'm not real, violence is one thing, but gore, it's apparently pretty gory. So that's not my speed for TV or movies either. I don't necessarily want it in a book. So yeah, I don't video. I was watching. This happens a lot of time. I was sitting and watching something, and it'll strike me, and it struck me that way that what do you guys think of that metaphor? Death of the patriarchy, death of the author, as far as an analytical structure, okay? Because I feel like feminism has really kind of let us down in this area. It's either, men are all toxic, or, just do whatever you want. Neither of those positions is particularly nuanced or helpful to yours truly, anyway. Speaking for myself. Random question. Belle, did you move time zones? Are you closer to me in time-wise now? Since you moved west. What do I mean? Well, the metaphor in the video, you mean what do I mean? The metaphor that I set up in the video, it just struck me that she could have been talking about sexual politics. She just wasn't, and I kept sort of waiting for her to, and then I realized she wasn't going to. And That was before I looked at her bio and saw that she considers herself to be a bimbo, but like doing the death of the author thing is not airheaded, you know? She doesn't strike me that way, which I guess is a branding fail technically, but it doesn't bother me any. No, and it struck me that the analytical structure of death of the author can be applied to men in a similar way. Is it possible to separate the man from the system that created him and engage with him in such a way as to not contribute to all of that toxic shit? Right? Like it's about either all men are toxic or whatever, do what you want and it doesn't help you. Oh. That seems to be the two main ideas that feminism has regarding interacting with men. Either it's a bad idea or no analysis whatsoever, essentially. Liberal feminism doesn't offer basically any analysis. Mainstream feminism really ironically doesn't offer any real analysis, right? In regards to actual sexual politics or anything, that isn't sexy fun. And that's one of its greatest failures, right? I think that I venture to say. And, just writing off all men as toxic isn't perfectly helpful to me as a married woman with kids, like Radical does. You just reject it. Okay. Like, it's radical in, like, the extreme sense. Like, I'm not saying that there's no analysis being done over there. Ireland is still Greenwich Mean Time? That's kind of weird. There's no analysis being done over there. I don't find it terrifically informative for my life. I've looked, I have engaged with some of that stuff. And, like, more power to them. I support separatism, but it is not terrifically helpful to me right now in my life. Okay? So I'm trying to come up with an alternative. And radical feminism talks about wanting to be critical of marriage and family. That doesn't mean rejecting them outright. Does it? Why would it? That's not what being critical of something means. And it's in my own best interest to be critical of these things. It's helpful in sticking up for myself minute to minute in any given situation, right? And I think the same could be said for a woman in a similar situation. But it's an uncomfortable conversation, and it's along the lines of buttons in the eyes. It's scary shit. And I've seen somebody did an analysis actually of Coraline as like the horror of motherhood, basically growing up as a girl, into whatever. I don't remember. It's been a while. Fucking Neil Gaiman, man. I was thinking this morning, like, why does this turn out to be nonsense? No, it's radical in the root sense. Whether one likes it or not, there's always going to have a power imbalance dynamic, and there's nothing people can individually. Right. I don't disagree with that. That is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm alluding to in the video. But so what do we make of that? Okay. How do we deal with that? But besides just not engaging in that situation. Gonna be walking now, so won't be able to talk, but I'll be listening. Right on. Have a nice walk. No, and it's actually a really interesting topic to me. It genuinely is really interesting to me. And it's obvious why it doesn't get talked about. It feels very personal. It does. But like, it needs to be talked about because some women are straight. And like I said in the video, the death of the author metaphor falls apart when you get to the part of, do you actually engage with the work or not? Okay. Because everybody can just not read Neil Gaiman's books. Everyone will survive just fine without ever reading another word from that man. And it won't bother them, right? It's Neil Gaiman's not something that you have any kind of internal need for, right? But, unfortunately, and this is just the thorny thing for feminism. It's like some women are attached to the men in their lives in ways that cannot be exorcised, right? And like, so what do we do with that? And that's the question I'm attempting to raise in that video. And I don't think BDSM is the thing. I don't think that's so ridiculous to me. I've literally had people come from last week's video and talk about how I'm trying to police people's behavior. And it's like, okay. But we're expected to just accept that consensual BDSM stops whenever, somebody says. How do you enforce that? How are you going to police people's behavior in that respect? I don't understand. Like, that's like accepting BDSM because you engage in it, but all engagement is going to be toxic, whether you want it to be or not, since you right. And people do not want to talk about that. And the ubiquity of it, the way that it apparently seems to be just expected, it is a form of normal, which I just don't think, I object to that idea. And we all know where that comes from, right? It brings us to the pornography conversation. We all know where that shit's coming from. Okay, and as I was talking about back at the beginning of this, there are women who have died. Okay. If there weren't for there being so many fucking cases of women having been literally choked to death, then maybe it wouldn't be an issue. Maybe we wouldn't have to talk about it. But I really feel like someone should be talking about this. Consensual or not, it might be a bad idea. I don't know. I'm not even necessarily going to sit here and villainize the man in the situation. You're trusting him to have perfect judgment in a moment when he probably won't. So why would feminists try to figure out how to cater to maintaining heterosexual relationships in marriage? Because women have our own motivations in doing so. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about marriage, but as far as heterosexual relations, yeah. There are women who have our own motivations for working that shit out. I got an answer for that one. Ooh, I go easy on the coffee. It's the last of the milk. I need to go to the store. Woe is me. There. They're revving it over there now. Sounds like they got it going today. Good for them. Maybe they'll drive it the fuck away. I mean, at the very least, those of us who have those motivations ought to interrogate them, don't you think? I think that's maybe the hardest part, is why do, you want to engage with something like that? What is that? The sexuality is not optional like reading somebody's books is. Or listening to P. Diddy's fucking music, or Usher, or whoever. You can just stop engaging with their material and live that long and fruitful life. Arguably, a lot of women are straight. So this is a question that's just not going to go away. Yeah, but it's not a feminist goal to maintain something which can't be separated from its domination and subordination dynamic. We don't need to maintain it. That's what I'm saying. Nature does that. We have to deal with it. Marriage, maybe, but heterosexual relationships are the reproduction of the species. It is an impulse that many of us share. And feminism should have stuff to say about that. The idea that it's optional, I think, is troublesome. Okay, because it's not. Generally speaking, broadly speaking, heterosexual relationships are just not optional in a way that, like, yeah, the only thing that can be liberatory is to not engage in it. They do have stuff to say about it. Right. Am I not allowed to disagree with that? And I raised the question of, is there such a thing as ethical heterosexuality under patriarchy? And, like, I'm not sure that there is. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm allowed to disagree. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm conscious that that is what I'm doing. And, I hope that I'm not coming across as too aggressive here. It's fun to get the opportunity to say these things. And it's a thorny subject, And to be glib about it, to be simplistic about it, it really just kind of feels like be a lesbian or shut up. And I don't want to do either of those things. So, I by all rights can't be a lesbian. I don't think that's an option that's open to me at this point in my life. I think that door has closed. The whole being married for a decade thing, I can be celibate. No, okay, yeah. Which, would not be typically unwelcome, but that's just is that something that is okay? That's not something that's workable for everybody. And whatever it is, it stinks to high heaven. It's great. I am, and I'm better off with that. That's good. I'm glad that you're happy. It is not practical for everybody. And so to me, that's a whole side of feminist theory that's just not really there. And this is the issue that I've been trying to articulate for years. So inching closer, right? We're getting there. Yeah, and it's really, like I said earlier, why I jumped into this arena in the first place is because there wasn't a whole lot of representation for people like me. And thusly, I don't have a lot of framework to work from. So it's kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And I love my kids and I love my husband. I personally would be better off without them. Some stay because financial reasons and such, but it is a choice one makes, and it won't kill anyone to not engage in heterosexual relationships. That's true. But for those who do, feminism does not have a whole lot to offer. And I think we can do better. I'm not insisting that everyone should. I hope that that's clear. Okay. Feminism is very varied. I hate that. Feminism is diverse because women are half the world. And what it looks like, you know, everybody's part is a little different. I love that. I love that about it, actually. The more I think about it, the more I love that. There should not be this pressure to all see everything the same way. We're never going to achieve that. That's ridiculous. 3.5 billion of us, or whatever it is, that's ridiculous. Feminism is not going to look the same for everybody. Which is why I think the whole agree to disagree thing works very well. As I've said 1,000 times, that's just how you should approach any interaction with anyone. You're never going to agree with someone about everything. That's ridiculous. You should always approach every interaction assuming you're going to have to agree to disagree about something. Especially when it comes to this stuff. Maybe there are some other nuances, but suggesting to be celibate is reminiscent of religious people saying, well, just don't have sex if you're gay, so you won't go to hell. How is that different? Ooh. Spicy. I like it. Good question. For those who do engage, we have rape shelters and consciousness raising groups when things go bad. But other than that, what do you expect feminists to focus on in terms of women engagement in hetero relationships? Well, that's what I'm trying to carve out. What does that look like? There's not a whole lot of framework to work with there. That's what I'm saying. I'm having to feel it out. And I've really only been doing it on the channel really directly, really lately, because, well, I'm kind of getting into my groove finally. And as I've said, I've been honing what exactly it is I'm trying to say. Because it's easy to have, an impulse to say something. It can be more difficult to figure out exactly what the fuck that is, right? How to have it not go bad for you, perhaps? Without just catering to them, without just, there are all sorts of, goodness knows religious people have enough guidelines and whatever on how to have a good marriage, right? There's a reason that shit is so popular. Practical things like that are needed, okay? And I have felt the dearth of that. I've said this before. I have felt the lack of that in my own life, that there is not this body of wisdom to lean on in a lot of moments. It just doesn't exist. In the way that for certain disciplines, there are literal centuries of literature. I think if you took out the complementarianism, yes, healthy relationship wisdom would be money. Right, yeah. I wasn't necessarily saying that, but it's also dangerous to set yourself up as a relationship guru because, A, I have said this before, I don't think necessarily that I know what's best for everybody. I do not. That's not something based on reality. And that's something based on, sorry, would be cool. Ha 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 ha. Let's see. Gay and lesbian can have a more healthier relationship without the power imbalance. Also, you're not going to go to hell either way, but you might, I think that was used metaphorically, but you might live through hell if you engage in heterosexual relationships, and that's something based on reality, not religion. Right. I think it was meant metaphorically there. I don't know. So I think it's more like I'm trying to come up with some kind of foundational principles upon which to base any kind of relationship advice, Because that then, you can apply. Because again, feminism looks different for everybody. And I certainly am not here to tell people how the fuck to live their lives. That's exactly what I don't want to do. On the other hand, there's something to be said for approaching an interaction, a situation with, a helpful mindset to make the best of it for yourself, and not be taken advantage of, maybe. And the resurgence of religious stuff, just heterosexual relationships, is metaphorical. That's true. But metaphor is helpful in discussing complicated issues. So if you don't like that metaphor, that's fine. Oh my god. Sorry. So, and that is, how we can avoid, it's not ideal, but using metaphor is sometimes how we can avoid delving into gritty details, right? We're discussing it in a theoretical way, on a theoretical level, at least for the moment. It would be great to have healthy heterosexual relationships. Wanting that doesn't mean you can't have that. So that is just so dismal, though, because I mean, we all have parents, right? It's just so, that seems just so, I mean, it's bordering on antinatalism, isn't it? Like, why, how are we going to continue the species and, like, I don't know, maybe improve or something? Um, I don't know. It just doesn't quite make sense, does it? Like, if the power imbalance is locked in, then why did they have to take it from us? Why did they have to suppress us in the first place? Haven't you met me before? I'm cynical as fuck. I guess I'm alluding to why I'm not comfortable following you there. I'm rather stuck rooting for humanity. I admit it. There's my bias showing. I am gonna have another cigarette though, because this is my smoke time. This is my chill time, my hang time, and then I gotta go do mom stuff the rest of the day. Never said it was locked in and will always be. It's just where we are now. Okay. And so that is one of the most interesting facets to me, is how the fuck did we get here and what do we do about it? Right? Which is thorny shit. It is. This is literally the stuff that keeps me awake at night sometimes. But I have seen people say that. I have seen people take that very pessimistic view that it is inevitable, it is locked in, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's very hopeless, right? Because it's humanity just, kind of limping on indefinitely, women miserable all over the place forever. Which, why the feminism then? Why bother? Gonna have to see a lot before I accept that, I guess. But I guess, yeah, that's what I'm alluding to. That's what I'm getting at with this video is, so what do we do about it? How do we look at that? you know? How do we begin to get a grip on that and articulate it and name it so that we can do anything with it? And quite honestly, we probably won't get to see any of this play out, considering how close we are to nuclear catastrophe. Oh my god. Yeah, you're right. We should all just give up now. I don't know. I mean, I do. What I mean to say is, fuck that. No. I gotta do everything I can until I can't. That's just how it is. And if I get blown away, I won't know it. What am I gonna be? Disappointed? I'll be dead. So I don't want to be disappointed in myself now, though. Eh? Oh my god, speaking of getting blown away, you guys hear there's an asteroid in near Earth orbit right now? Which is just wild stuff and so cool. Apparently this happens every so often. We pick up a mini satellite that like goes around for a while and then floats away. That's cool as shit. And by every so often, I mean the last one was in like, I wanted to go see it. There's been clouds every morning on there. Okay. From what I read, they said it's not going to be visible to the naked eye or even like a backyard telescope anyway, which is disappointing. But still, I can't wait to see pictures. And how cool is that? That's just cool. I don't know. It makes me, I think that makes me more cynical than anything else. What, the rock in space? Or the fact that if you get blown up tomorrow, you won't know it? I don't know. I had my existential crisis about the essential meaninglessness of my life a long time ago. So, uh, it's fair, you know? No, my other comment. Okay. That we probably, you're about the nuclear catastrophe. Yeah. Or about just where we are now. It's a depressing spot where we are now. I'm not going to argue with that. But what happened yesterday? Oh, God. I missed something. I can't wait. Was it us? Is it the Israel? Can you not see my comment? I guess not. I don't see anything between nuclear catastrophe and what makes you more cynical. For fuck's sake, YouTube. Yeah, no shit. Oh my god. Again, I mean, I don't feel like we have much choice but to keep on keeping on. Shadows you again. Fucking A, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That bites. Is it Putin? Israel, Lebanon, and Iran. Dude, that's not Putin. But apparently Russia issued new nuclear warning to the U.S. at the UN. So that's great. Loving that. I swear, these people, half of them are going around obsessed with the apocalypse, and the other half are going, well, I think a lot of them are the same people. And then at the same time, going about doing their best to bring it about. Like, can we say self-fulfilling prophecy? I saw a funny thing yesterday. This girl was like, and if you're trying to bring about the apocalypse, I beg you, please reconsider. In a nutshell, right? Please reconsider. Please don't do that. Like, what the fuck? How entitled are you? Oh my god. Self-important enough to literally blow up the fucking world. The mind boggles. Because you decided that it was time to. Like, that's... Do you get any more self-important than that? Oh, fine. I'll give Armageddon a second thought. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just for me. I'm so flattered. Thank you. Let's see. How are we doing? I lost 2 subscribers. Ugh. No. No, we're not doing great. That's all right. They don't want to touch this subject. They'd rather be just be separatists, even though there's so many of us who aren't going to stop interacting with man. Thank you, right? Yep. Somebody needs to. Somebody needs to. So I guess it's got to be me. It's got to be me. Fine. 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 Can you see my comment now? Things are ramping up. Yes, I see that. Nobody needs to. Are you responding to the comment that I read? What did that say? Nobody needs to interact with men? Okay. The idea that straight women should just be expected to be celibate is like problematic, if you'll forgive the term. I've been strolling home with the sunset, making the countryside just gorgeous while you are talking about doom. It's a beautiful day here too. I know. It's hard to think about that, but one feels compelled, And I truly think that whether, even if I did not have kids of my own, I would still be concerned about the future of the species and the planet and stuff. Can you see my comment on missiles and with countries and regions? Do you see that comment? No. No. I don't see anything between, yep, shadowed me again, and can you see my comment now? Nope. Apparently he doesn't like that part. Fucking hell. I am embarrassed, okay? And I don't know that I can do anything about that. For fuck's sake. Yeah, right. Ah, that is rage making. Because I can't do anything about that. I don't think. Does anybody know if I can do anything about that? I mean, that's out of my hands, isn't it? Maybe try badly misspelling things or something. That's a fucking handsaw. Like a. We're talking at cross purposes then. Oh God. I'm sorry. But yeah, just try using like spell things badly or slice up the words or something. I'll figure it out. Good heavens. I did. Still caught it though. They really don't want people discussing this. Oh my God. Pig Latin will need to make a comeback. Oh my God. That's not an idea. Or you could shoot me an email and I'll read it on the camera. We're an hour and a half into this thing at this point, so all 50 or 60 of my regular viewers, hi guys, are here with us, but everybody else is long gone by now. Can't splice it up more than I already have. Right, like I say, shoot me an email. I got my phone right here and I'll just read it. Okay, BRB. All right. Because fuck censorship. What the hell? Oh, it was so nice watching my son realize the other night that top-down censorship is a waste of time and money. It has to be grassroots. We all have to keep ourselves and one another in check, and social conventions matter and all of that. That's why they exist. I am so sorry about that noise. What prompted him to realize that? Ooh, what were we talking about? I think it was a tangential to the BDSM thing. He's 16, going on 17. Oh. And so we do talk about these things sometimes, and just the idea that it's impossible to police people's behavior in their own bedrooms, right? From a top-down level, that making laws against specific sexual acts is really unenforceable. And that's true. That's silly. That's not how but at the same time, our society is so permissive of these things. Just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it's a good idea. Okay, because sometimes making things illegal is ridiculous. That cannot and is not the only way that society polices itself, right? But that's kink shaming. There's thought-terminating cliche if I ever heard one. Real artists don't kink shame. That was from last week's video. Oh, it's so stupid. I'm going to repeat this. Real artists are sensitive people who need to learn to protect themselves in this crazy world. The idea that artists can just do whatever they want is so outdated, right? That's positively Victorian. If not earlier. Wow. That's like a romantic idea. Which, for anybody who doesn't like the romantic, like the literature and arts movement from the 1820s and 30s, okay? That's old school shit, and it's some bullshit. But their artistic temperament is just going to lead them hither and thither, and, we just have to tolerate that shit for their great art. That is some retrograde nonsense. But it seems to be the persona that Neil Gaiman had cultivated. Which, like, come on, surely we all know better than that. We should all know better than that. And it does, to me, it leads to that conversation of the difference, the distinction between like what is legal and what is good and should be acceptable, and like what is reasonable to put into law and what is not, you know. And yeah, top down censorship doesn't work. We all know that. It's a nightmare. It's a notorious, well known nightmare. I don't have anything here yet. I have a bunch of stuff, but I don't think I have anything yet. I'm sorry. I hope that saw is not too annoying for you guys. I cannot do anything about it. Sometimes I wish it were legal to tranquilize people. You know, just to... quiet. Here's my maniacal fantasy. Okay. Cool. Hey, I just stated how Israel went ham on Lebanon. Oh, killed the Hezbollah leader alongside many civilians. And so Iran retaliated by firing 180 missiles into Israel. Things are ramping up to a boiling point, so I doubt we'll even see much of this gender imbalance with heterosexuality play out either way. Damn. You think it's just going to wipe out everything? I hate to sound insensitive, but that is kind of far away. We might actually get to go on living. Bunch of fucking maniacs. I literally can't go around thinking about that shit all the time. I wouldn't be able to do anything else. Nuclear winter doesn't care where you are. Yeah, man. Yeah, sure. So what you're saying is we should get all the most we can out of this nice weather? I don't know. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it to win it, whether, you know, whatever the odds, you know what I mean? I can't, I'm I don't really know how that all that works. I mean, I'd rather not know. Really, I'd rather not need to learn that. Obviously, ha 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 ha. Not that I have a say, which is the terrifying part, right? Yeah. And considering Putin warned USA that if Ukraine strikes them with long-range missiles, they'll see it as an attack by the U.S. and will use nuclear retaliation. That's what that was about. Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that one. Wow. Oh. Excuse me. The Cold War is like a nightmare we can't wake up from. It's terrible. shit is hitting the fan. Oh my god. I don't know. Somebody asked me point blank the other day if I thought that it would if Donald Trump should die. Which, you know, right now, especially, that would just make him a martyr, which I don't think would be good for anybody. But I'll be damned if I can't help sitting here occasionally wishing Vladimir Putin would just have a fucking stroke or something. Come on. Sorry for ruining this beautiful day. Yeah, well. We knew what we were getting when you joined the chat, right? I don't know. I knew the odds were stacked against me anyhow. What am I going to do? Quit? Not going to say you didn't bring down the mood, but I do that plenty well enough on my own anyway, really. Like, you don't see me when I'm alone. I mean, sun shining brightly equals dark shadows, so no worries. True. That's a good point. It's cloudy here at the moment. It's overcast at the moment. Not that you can tell on that camera at all. That I am. You're right. And I don't know if it's optimistic or fatalistic, because like I say, I'm in it to win it, whether there's any fucking chance of that or not. I got my time, and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability, and that's that, really. I'm thinking about if Banksy is a romantic artist or not. I do not have enough information to answer that question, but it's an interesting one. Speaking of my son, he really doesn't like Banksy, which is relevant because he is a visual artist. That's probably what he's going to go to college for. It's been his main interest for years and years at this point. So I was kind of surprised to hear that. Maybe I'm old. Probably. But yeah, he wrinkled his nose at that. You know. And he wasn't very clear in articulating why that was, but I guess he's not in with the cool kids these days. He's not part of the in crowd anymore. I don't know. I think he's probably would be considered postmodern, though, right? What with the appropriation of walls and everything as canvases. The only thing I know about Banksy is that they show up in graffiti art in random spots. So definitely they has that to do what they want by it. Yeah, true. But postmodernists have that as well. And, you know, less in a I'm following my muse kind of way and more in a I'm following my bliss kind of way. Well, we'll still keep on, but I'm going to keep on, but with a cynical chip on my shoulder. Just call me Negative Nancy. I'm going to just keep on calling you Kitty Cat. It seems it works, you know. Cats. It's an interesting contrast, actually, postmodernism and romanticism, because, like, yeah. I mean, the romantics it's where the Victorian era gets that reputation for, like, a preoccupation with the beauty of dead things and whatever, because the romantics were a lot about kind of flipping things on their head, and you love cats. Yes, me too. And it sort of set the tone for the period. Whereas you look at the end of the 18th century, everything was very twee, everything was very beautiful, everything was very Baroque, right? And then at the beginning of the 19th century, they just kind of stripped everything down. You know, like you tend to do. And went the other way with things. So that was the romantics. And, like, think Edgar Allan Poe, right? That's the period we're talking about. So, they had to do what they're going to do, vibe in a way of they were going to, drink laudanum and write poetry all night kind of a way. And less in a whatever, I do what I want kind of a way. I don't know. It's hard to articulate, but I hope I'm making some sense. So, yeah, I think Banksy would technically be classified as a postmodernist because he made like, the whole point, basically, it's sort of supposed to be sort of satirical or ironic, where he's making something boring and public and generic into a work of art, right? It's transformative in a way that postmodernism ideally, I think, is supposed to be in art anyway. So, but I think romanticism is making a comeback, I guess is what I'm getting at. And the contrary, like, they do sort of dovetail into one another. They have a lot in common. But romanticism is a lot about meaning, whereas postmodernism is a lot about playing with meaning and sort of demonstrating that it is not as concrete as it appears, whereas romanticism really emphasizes the truth of feeling, if you know what I mean. So, I guess technically that would make postmodernism more intellectual leaning, but they would love that, so I don't want to say that. I appreciate postmodernism, but I definitely lean more towards the romantic side myself. That does make it much more distinct, yeah. I just watched Pan's Labyrinth again for the millionth time. That's poetic artistry as film. Yes. It is actually, it's not really analogous, but that is the genre I'm trying to write in, where it's like the real world, and then you turn the corner, and all of a sudden it's not, right? Like intensely not, and they can coexist. And I heard this said about that movie that it is a metaphor or I can't think of the word now. I just used it anyway. An analogy maybe for how life is that way. You're just kind of going along, or in her case, having a crisis in the middle of a crisis, and then all of a sudden shit just gets weird. Right? Life is like that. Ooh, sounds awesome. Yeah, right? Yeah, right. And I think it's analogous to the way that life is like that. So that's a universal experience, right? Everybody's had that, where you're just going along, whatever the fuck is happening, and all of a sudden you turn the corner and shit just gets weird. Which is why I think that film doesn't just throw you, right, when that happens. And it is, for all appearances, as real and material and outside of her. Like, she's not imagining that shit, right? The fairies and whatever. I don't know if the filmmaker necessarily intended for that to be her fantasy world, but it certainly does not appear that way, right? It appears that she's actually wandered into some parallel world or something. That music score, oh yeah, great film. And apparently, magical realism is the genre. I mean, it's not technically a literary genre. It's more of a functional genre. It is how the elements of the story function, right? It defines that. It was supposed to be ambiguous. Right on. It really seems to me, anyway, that it is presented in such a way of like, it certainly seems to materially, it seems very material and external to me. Regardless of, whatever the filmmaker, but so that is, the element of the genre, that the fantastical stuff is just part of the experience. But overall, it's not a fantastical experience. Excuse me. And I think it's basically the most realistic way to portray some pretty unrealistic stuff, right? The stuff that beggars belief. Out, that if you heard somebody tell you about this stuff, you'd be like, yeah, sure you did. And then what happened? Right? Uh, and frankly, I think her being a little girl is a big part of what might make that ambiguous, right? But it isn't, because it could go either way. It could have been real just as much as it could have been just a way to cope with her reality. Yeah. And I do like that. I've just made my personal decision. I'm not saying that that's the definitive interpretation of the film. I've just made my personal decision about how I want to feel about it, And because also that is an element, like I say, of that genre that does exist in literature and, outside of that movie. Apparently it has a really strong connection with Hispanic culture, which is cool. I hope I'm not, culturally appropriating. I don't think so. It literally just seems to me the most realistic way, as I'm saying, to portray stuff like that. Just because you have, fantastical elements. I mean, fuck, life has fantastical elements anyway, right? So, yeah, I see. Yeah. So, if you want to love the ambiguity about it, go for it. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And he is a very Guillermo del Toro, right? He's a brilliant filmmaker, obviously. So, is that the magical elements are just sort of woven into an otherwise pretty realistic story, and like it brings me back to the book I was talking about earlier, where they said that the ghosts and the fantasy stuff could almost just be done away with, and it wouldn't change the plot. That's not what I'm talking about, obviously. Trying to imagine Pan's Labyrinth without, I feel like the plot doesn't change a whole lot, but it's a much shorter film. And the interiority of the character is lost, right? So yeah, it becomes a totally different thing. Just a drama. You're not. And the fact that it also used real historical events within that time period alongside its folklore. Right. And that's the kind of thing I'm going for, right? Which is why I was ranting so hard about that other book. It's a great title. The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. That is a great fucking title. But yeah, apparently they really just used the period as set dressing, and it did not sound to me, I haven't read it, but I listened to 2 reviews, I've read several more. It just, like, that was not what that author was going for, right? Which, fine. They turned Victorian England into a fantasy world, basically. Which is not what I'm doing. But I was thinking about this, I might have talked about this last week, like, I don't want to be, like, throughout a lot of the first book, there's 3, as I've said, throughout a lot of the first installment, the first third of it, it is a lot, pretty much straightforward historical fiction, but I don't want to be categorized as that because, well, by the end of the first book, it no longer is just straight up historical fiction. We have very prominent magical elements, okay? Gotta go, but thank you for this. Right on. See you around. Thanks for hanging. I gotta go in 5 minutes anyway. Ooh, cow. Dang. Yeah, but so I don't want to be classified as historical fiction because I feel it's inaccurate, and because fantasy is a much more popular genre, and I want people to actually read the thing. I feel like historical fiction just does not have anywhere near the readership of fantasy, so is it low fantasy, technically, if, like, the setting itself isn't magical? I mean, no, okay, spoilers. It is, but it's not immediately presented that way. Okay. And you certainly don't get like a bunch of lore dumps at the beginning where, the long history of like the magic system of this world or whatever. No, no, no. Frankly, I use the ploy where you ride along with the novice and learn along with her. Okay. So it's just a very organic way to work in that information, drip, 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 step by step, right? Instead of overloading the reader with all that stuff. And really, like, the magic system is fucking secondary. Okay. To the story. The magic system serves the story, not the other way around. So, I hope you guys are enjoying listening to me babble about my book because it's going to be months of that. I'm just absolutely eyeball deep in rewrites right now. So thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me and everything. I don't expect this video to do as well this week, but that's actually fine because that gives me more time to do other things. So, lore dumps are dumpster fire. You're right. You're right. I don't want to do that. No, and like, I was listening to somebody, it was Abby Emmons. Have a great week. Yeah, it was nice hanging. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. It was nice to see you. Congrats on the job. Sincerely. Who's Abby Emmons? Whose writing advice seems to be not trash. Was saying that you should put your inciting incident as quickly as possible. I was like, how about the second scene? How about that? Does that work? Is that really enough? Like, mind you, I didn't think to myself, oh, I have to put these. I literally realized what the inciting incident was after I was looking at it. Like, after I had written it, and I'm going back and I'm trying to make sense of it all. So, I didn't do that on purpose, but it is. It's literally the second scene. The inciting incident of the first third is the second scene of the story. So I'm like, well, big fat check mark there. It is, though. It's 2:00. Dang. This has been fun. Thanks so much for, hanging. I said that already, but really, I can't stop saying it because it's so true. It's been so much fun. The time just flew this week. Such a beautiful day. I have no idea what next week's video is going to be. Anybody has any suggestions, drop me a comment down below this video or below the other video or wherever. I'll see it. Because I'm always open to suggestions, Probably going to wander away from BDSM a little bit, if not entirely, because... Oh, shucks. It's time to go. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Human resources. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to see if I can watch Kevin can go fuck himself because it sounds perfect. It sounds very on point for me. Watch then review it, damn it. Ooh. It is a whole... Is it a movie? I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry. It's a movie, right? I keep thinking it's like a television show, and I know I don't have time for that. But I'll write it down again. Right next to the other one. I always get such good recommendations from you guys, and I usually don't have time to follow up on them. I'm sorry. I look forward to the time, about 10 years from now when I suddenly have a whole bunch of time on my hands. A documentary. Cool. Okay. There. I actually wrote down what it was and what I should do with it so I don't just look at that and go, what? Thank you for your patience and your input, and it's always a good time. But yeah, there you go, because if nothing else, nature calls. So, have a good week, honey, and everybody else who's still here, just have a good one about fear-based propaganda and thought control in democratic societies. Ooh, I wonder if my review is going to be anything like interesting and terrifying. Okay. Well, here's hoping we don't have an apocalypse before next week, and I will see you then, okay? Have a good one, guys. Bye for now.